Hello. So this evening we are going to try out a route in the A310 because I've been reading various reports that it doesn't follow the route programmed into the aircraft properly, so we're going to go try it out and see what happens. So this is rather foolhardy, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so overhead we go for batteries 1, 2 and 3. And I need to turn my sound down because I just nearly deafened myself. External power goes to on. Oh crikey, I'm forgetting where everything is in this thing already. External power is down here and it's not available. So we're going to have to fire up the APU. Which is going to be fun. Okay, we'll ignore the external power then. It's not available. APU master switch goes to on. So this is in the eyebrow panel. So I'm starting to remember. I haven't flown this for a couple of days. So that goes to on, and then we wait for that to go out, and then we hit start. And we wait for the APU to come up. Obviously, we can then go straight overhead anyway, and go and set these two, the INS system, the inertial navigation system, to nav, and we can set the status there, and then we can go straight down to the FMC when it becomes available. We're having to wait for the APU because we haven't got enough power, so we'll wait for a few moments. This is quite interesting actually to see what happens. So if we go and wait outside, we should hopefully get an inkling that the APU is starting up when the hot air starts pouring out of the back of the aircraft. So let's keep an eye on that for a moment. Can we hear it? Yes, we can. Just about. Hurrah! We have ignition. Give it a few more moments and we should get some power to the aircraft and should see things booting up. And once we've got things booting up, we can actually go and align the INS system in the MCDU. I think it's still called the FMC at this point in the Airbus history. Just give it enough time to power up. I don't think the ECAM buttons are going to work either yet, so let's just go and click on APU here. Yeah, we're getting nothing yet. So we'll sit here patiently and wait for some power. There we go. So there's an interesting one for you. So without ground power, that's how long it takes. So let's go and program our route. Saying align IRS, which is exactly what we're going to do. So we go into the init page, not the flight plan page. So we tonight are flying from Pescara down to Rimini. So Pescara is LIBP, Lima India Bravo Papa. Lima India Bravo Papa. And we are going to Rimini, which is Lima India Papa Romeo. Lima India Papa Romeo. So as soon as we get that in, we should get the align IRS option, which is done. We'll put our flight number in, which is going to be JB123. Oh, it's saying GPS primary. That's just a notification. So that's what we've just keyed in. And we can see that. Let's press Alt 3 for one of my custom views, just so we can see this nicely. Next page. So we're going to go with the default numbers for the block fuel. If you bear with me for a moment, I'm just opening my paper notebook with the scribbled down numbers that I wrote down the other day. So block fuel 43180. So 43.2 basically. Clear out the message. So there's our 43.2. That goes into block. The zero fuel weight for the aircraft is 176.7. 176.7. That should calculate the takeoff gross weight, which it has done. Centre of gravity is 28%, so 28.0. Okay, if you're wondering how I calculated those, I did them the other day, and I've got the stock aircraft configuration again, but they're in the scales in here, and you can go and get those. Okay, Alt 3. So let's go and program the rest of our route. So if we go to the flight plan screen, we're going to leave Lima India Bravo Papa on runway 22, and we are going to be using, let's go and have a double check in Navigraph. We're going to be using the Otra 6S departure from runway 22. Okay, you can see it on the chart down here. If you want to actually see the chart of it, there it is. So Otra 6S is we go out to here and then turn left basically. So we go next page, next page. Okay, this is interesting. Why is it not giving me the rest of the SIDS? Init, flight plan, standard instrument departure. Oh, of course you push them, don't you? It hasn't got next page in the Airbus. This is how rusty I have become at this. So you push them either way. Otra 6S. And we insert that. Okay. So then we go back into flight plan. We push through to the end. There's LIPR, which is Pescara. Sorry, Rimini. And we choose the standard approach route into Rimini. We're going to use ILS for runway 31. And we're going to use the ANC-1X standard approach route. So in the same way, there it is, we can push that through. Okay, so that's done that. I don't think we need to take any notice of the... Yeah, it's just a final transition, that's fine. So enter, return... Oh, we did the wrong thing again. Supposed to insert it, not return. There we go, so we've inserted it. So let's go and have a scroll through. We've got some discontinuities along the way, so we'll clear those out. So we're just going to leave the route direct between the various elements of the flight plan. And that's it. So there's the actual landing. That's the go-around route, basically. So it all looks straightforward. Okay. So we haven't set up the data for the takeoff yet. So we're going to borrow that again from numbers I did the other day, which will be 134 and 136. We don't need to change anything else. We can leave all this as it is. So we're shortcutting all sorts of things here, but we're kind of making our life easy. Okay, so we've programmed the route. What else do we need to do? We need to go and turn the oxygen on overhead. We forgot to do that. So press Alt and 1, and oxygen is here, and that's done. We've done the flight plan, which is all fine. So on the eyebrow panel, we go and set the no smoking and the seatbelt sign now. So there's the no smoking sign, there's the seatbelt sign. We go for the ground control to on, or GND CTRL, so that's up here. Lights, so they come down here. So we're going to go and turn the beacon light on. And we're going to turn the nav and logo 2 to number 1. We're also going to put strobes to auto. Just having a check round on the checklist. So we've done the strobes, we've done the nav and the logo lights. So back on the eyebrow panel, ATS goes to on, which I can't remember where that is. Oh, here we go. It's the automatic trim system and the yaw dampers and the pitch trims. So they won't switch on unless you've got the inertial navigation system running, which we have, which is good. Looking further down, fuel pumps will go to on now. So here's all of our fuel pumps. This is only about the third time I've flown this airplane, by the way. I kind of sat with the book and went through it and wrote a checklist up, but I haven't actually used it since. I've been busy flying the other airplanes that came out with the 40th anniversary pack. So we'll do the window heats and probe heats. They're all done. So APU is up and running, as we know, so we can switch on the APU bleed, which is over here. So APU bleed goes to on, and we hear the sound from that, which is good. We go and set the decision height here to -5. We press B to calibrate the altimeters. The APU's up and running, we know that much. Electrical power, we can turn off the external power if we weren't using it. We are not. Start engines. So this becomes the easy bit now. So we choose starter A, and we start engine number 2 first, and it says open. We can see the N2 number coming up on engine number 2, the right engine, and we are ready to move the starter lever forwards for engine number 2 when it gets to 20% N2. There we go. So we wait for the engine to come up. On the ECAM screen we could show the engines so you can actually see things happening. It's just showing pressures, isn't it? What else do we get options on the ECAM screen for? Hydraulics, AC, DC, fuel. That was the power generation kicking in on the right engine. So you get automatic crossfeed in the Airbus, which is quite cool. So up here we can now start engine number 1. So again we're waiting for the N2 to come up on engine number 1. So while we're waiting for that, let's just have a quick... I was going to get to 20 before I finish talking about stuff, isn't it? So let's just wait for that to come through, then we'll move the starter lever on engine number 1 forwards. Okay, so while that's happening, let's come back out of this chart. So we're taking off runway 22, so we're going to go and preset the heading to 220 degrees. Sorry, to 22. No, was it runway 220 degrees? Okay, we're going the wrong way. Just waiting for this to come through. So we've just seen the power generation kick in on the crossfeed from engine number 1, which is good. Realised this is one of the things you should do in your checklist. It should be before everything else, but I haven't done it. I've got the wrong controller configuration on the aircraft. I'm doing well tonight, aren't I? But luckily this isn't the whole point of the flight. Oh, look at this. We got a bug in Flight Sim as well. The none of the controllers appeared. Here we go. So we want to change this to the... what's it called? The A310. I hate this menu. Why they don't do a drop down in that menu, I will never know. Okay, there we go. So this all makes sense now. So the controller configuration is in the right place. Okay, so now the engines are running, the APU bleed can go to off. So we'll press Alt and 2. APU bleed goes to off, and the master switch for this, the ignition can go to off, and the master switch for the APU can go to off. Okay. go and arm the speed brake lever. We put the flaps to takeoff position. We go and preload the vertical speed for takeoff. We'll go for 2,500 feet a minute. And what else do we need to do? Oh, we're going to climb straight out to 18,000 feet to keep things simple for ourselves rather than worrying too much about the standard instrument departure. We just want to see if the aeroplane will follow our instructions, to be honest. So we're going out to 18,000 feet. We're doing it on a vertical speed of 2,500 feet a minute, and we're going to do it initially off the runway at 220 knots. Actually, we'll go for 200. We've got those turns to make. Okay, so we should be good to go. So we'll just check the screen down here. Seatbelts are on, no smoking signs on, parking brake is on, and we've got no other warnings, so we may as well get going. Just going to turn my own volume down again a bit more because I am being absolutely deafened by the engines. Let me just check the volume for you. Can you hear me over them? Not really. Okay, I'm turning that down. May turn it down a bit more actually. You can't really hear me over it, can you? That's probably a bit better, isn't it? Maybe even a bit more than that. There we go. So we're most interested tonight to see if this aircraft is going to follow the flight plan. So I've kind of chosen a standard instrument departure that wiggles around to see if it follows it. So here's runway 22 coming up at Pescara. Sorry, Rimini. Let me get this from the right way before we take off. We're flying from Pescara to Rimini. Okay. This will be a good dry run actually, because I'm doing a group flight tomorrow night with a load of heavies using ATC. So I really do need to know how this aeroplane works if I'm going to use it. Okay, straight out departure, here we go. So we're coming up towards 136 knots, which is our rotate speed. Okay, so stick back and positive right, gear up. And autopilot on, nav mode on, auto throttle on. Go up one stage on the flaps and go for 220 knots. So let's watch how accurately this follows the... I think it will fly through each waypoint and then make the turn, so we'll watch and see what it does. Let's zoom... Oh, we can't zoom in any closer than this. This is the smallest distance it will display to us on this display. I don't want to go too fast because that will increase the radius of our turns. Obviously if we go and look at the standard instrument departure plan. So we're just passing through the waypoint and it's making the right turn, so it's following it so far. We're climbing away. It's looking good so far. We can move the gear lever down to the centre, which if it's anything like the Boeing means it's no longer pressurising the landing gear cylinders. Okay, Okay, so we'll remove the flaps completely now. So let's have a look at this on the chart. So it's doing a pretty good job of it so far. As soon as we straighten up a bit, we'll increase speed to 250 knots. Let's find out actually what the... If we look on here, has this got the transition height on it? It hasn't, has it? Ah, there we go, 6,000 feet. Okay, so we've just gone through 6,000 feet. So we can go and switch the barometric pressure to 2992. So let's go do that. I don't think it's got a button to shortcut it up here, has it? So we can do it in here. So we obviously need to do it on the others as well. Does it do it on... No, it doesn't. So we have to go and do the co-pilots as well. Okay. So we've now got standard barometric pressure in effect. As soon as we get to 10,000 feet we can accelerate some more. So let's go for 250 knots now. We didn't have the landing lights on, did we? That was a bit naughty. It's a bit late now. We're already at 8,000 feet. But again, this isn't about absolutely correct procedures. This is about will it follow the flight plan. And it seems to be doing so far. So I think we'll let the passengers get up now, shall we? So we'll remove the seat belts and let them go to toilet or do what they want to do. We haven't put TCAS on either, so again another black mark if in terms of if we had ATC operating. It's down here, isn't it? TAR8. There we go. Not that it's actually going to achieve anything in a test flight in a simulator, but there you go. Yeah, so we're off on our way. As I said, the focus here is this aircraft going to follow the route? Okay, we're in the icing range, true air temperature. So to defend against that, you see there's an icing panel. Got anti-ice. So if you want to turn everything on, you just go and turn it all on. You don't need the mode one. So again, we're still climbing out to 18,000. It's doing it all on its own. So we've gone through 10,000 feet now, so we can accelerate and get on our way quickly now. So we're accelerating out to 320 knots. Oh, the sim has paused. Is it about to crash, or is it just the USB controller having a fit? We're about to find out. No, it was just the USB controller having a fit. Notice the levers moved when it did it. Certain motherboards seem to hate Flight Simulator, or they hate the USB programming in Flight Simulator. So we've got the green banana has turned up, which is the point at which we will reach our target altitude. So let's go and zoom out a bit now and see the rest of our route. Okay, there seems to be... Oh, there is a discrepancy, isn't there? Oh, is that the alternate airport maybe? I think it probably is. Let's go and have a look on the map and see what that approach actually looks like. Yeah, so we're straight in, pretty much. go and have a look at the diagram. So if we look at that, actually if we have a look at it on the map itself, we can familiarise ourselves. So we're just coming up through Otret. So there's our destination. So we come down through Rogak, CF31, FF31. So let's go and double check that and look in the legs. So in the flight plan, CF31, FF31 corresponds, yeah. It's looking good, isn't it? Rogak to CF31. There would have been a discontinuity in there. When you see dotted lines in here, it's basically vectors. So it's up to you to kind of solve those issues in the flight plan, which we did when we got in. It's asking us to initialize the cost index, which we never did. We'll leave it and see if it manages without it. The cost index is a formula which governs how aggressively the aircraft can accelerate or decelerate. So we are now at 18,000 feet, cruising 320 knots, so we're within a margin of our maximum speed just to keep it safe. If we were a little bit higher, once you get to about 28,000 feet, the speed would switch over to Mach number. We can actually press the button here though to show it. So we're only at 18,000, so we're not going as fast as we might when we were at 36, for example, where we might be looking for Mach 0.8 or thereabouts. The reason they use Mach number at higher altitudes is it's much more representative of the speed you're actually doing, rather than indicated airspeed, obviously, because the higher you get in the sky, the thinner the air, therefore the slower the indicated airspeed appears, so there's a bigger discrepancy to your ground speed. So they tend to use Mach number at higher altitudes because it's more representative. Okay, so let's see where we are along the route. So it's following it so far. Should we try doing some changes to the flight plan and see how it reacts to it? Because obviously until we get to the beginning of the star we can meddle with it. So let's do a direct to Lapvo, for example. So if we were to add Lapvo to the route after Otret, yeah, we'll do direct to Lapvo from where we are now. Hoping this will work. Direct to, what was it, Lapvo, Lapvo, and insert that into the flight plan, and it should be doing it straight away. So if we were to scroll this down, yeah, you can see we've done a direct. It's now at the top of the tree, and that is respected here, so we can see it's doing exactly what we told it to do. So I'm seeing no issues so far with it. Seems to be behaving. We'll keep an eye on how far we are away. Obviously we came through somewhere over here, didn't we? So we'll add that to our route after Otret, so we just make it a bit more representative of where we turned off. So let's go and have a look at that approach. So we're coming essentially straight in. So it wants us at flight level 120 at... Is this the right one? Just looking at it. And ANC-1X. Yeah, here we go, ANC-1X. Flight level 120. And then at 3,000 feet at Rogak. Let's go and have... If we can superimpose this, actually, that would help us, wouldn't it? So we'll do that. There we go. So that our first important point then is to be at flight level 120 or 12,000 feet, basically, when we get to PR 524. So there's PR 524 on the flight plan. If you get to the progress page, it's not quite as clever as the later models. You don't see as meaningful information, so it's probably better just to look at that one. But we can see PR524 here. It's about 40 miles away. So let's begin our descent and see how we can manage that as well while we're at it. So we'll go and move the selected altitude to 12,000 feet. Okay, so I've selected it, but obviously it's not going to do it yet because we haven't told it how to get there. But that's interesting, look, it's starting to descend for it. But let's tell it how to descend for it. So we'll go to selected vertical speed mode. We don't want to go anything like as steep as it wants to go. Whoops. So I've pulled the bottom of the vertical speed knob. Let's go for 2,000 feet a minute. Even that's a bit quick. We'll go for 1,500 feet a minute. Or even 1,000 feet a minute. We're just playing with the numbers. We're watching that green banana, seeing when it's going to reach shortly before PR524. You have to remember we need to decelerate as well along the way. While we're doing all of this, we can also go and have a look at the ILS. So we need 111.1 and 304 degrees tuned in. So what was it again? 111.1 and 304. 111.10 and 304. So we're just getting things ready in advance, really. Good. Okay, so you can see now we're descending. PR524 is coming. Interesting weather today. All I've done is wound the clock back. We've got live weather, but we haven't got live time because it would be inky black outside and we would have nothing to see. We don't need the anti-icing on, do we? I'm going to turn all that back off. Okay, so we're about 60 miles out. Descending. So once we get to PR524, let's have a look at that chart again. Should we superimpose it over the map so we can see it again, so it makes some sense? So we're flying straight down through ANC1X. So flight level 120 at PR524, and then what other restrictions do we have along the way? Nothing really until 3,000 or above 3,000 at Rogak, which is fine. And then we got the run into the airfield, so we should pick up the ILS by then. I am going to ride the approach mode if it's going to behave itself. That just flicked again, look. That's the USB controller again. I am going to ride the approach mode if I can this time, and we could even play with VOR lock, couldn't we? Although we're seeing if this is going to follow the plan, so we'll let it do it. I'm always kind of, I don't know, a bit fidgety. I want to try things out. You've probably seen from my videos, there's always something to learn, something to try, see if it works. Trying to pack in as many things as possible to try out along the way. So we're getting lower in altitude, so we're going to slow back down to 250 knots now. So hopefully by the time we get to 12,000 and we're looking to descend to 3, we need to be at 250 knots before we get to 10,000 feet essentially. So we're going to set this now to come in for 3,000 feet. we're not going to do it yet. So let's zero that out to make it hold on. It's only a little way off of 12,000. Just for our demonstration purposes today, we're going to hold on to it until we get to, we'll climb up a little bit. Let's get this to come back up. We'll behave ourselves. Okay, we're now above 12,000, so nobody can complain. So if we then zoom in on here, we can see there's Rogak coming. So it's so it's saying here, yeah, at Rogak we need to be at 3,000. Okay, so we need to get down in a hurry then. So let's make that happen. We have to wait till PR524 to do it though. I'm just zooming in so we can see this a bit closer. I'm still a little bit at sea with this aeroplane, with finding out where things are. You probably saw that when we were configuring the aeroplane. It's kind of looking blindly around thinking, where's that gone? It just takes practice, and it doesn't help that I keep jumping between aeroplanes. If I concentrated on it for a few weeks, the same for anybody, if you concentrate on anything, then you get to learn where things are and you build up the muscle memory. Okay, so we're coming in towards the business end of the flight really. So we're going to have to descend quite steeply actually. So we're just about to come through PR524, which you will see happen. If we go and click on the flight plan page, we've got the top of descent is coming up, that'll be the circle. Anyway, let's go and sort this out then. We can obviously use the spoilers if we need to come down any more steeply. We'll see how this handles it. We also need to know the QNH at the destination airfield, so we can cheat on that in that regard. So if we go for information on the destination, we can open the airport up and go for the weather, and it's 1021. So we will do that now, although we shouldn't really, we should be respecting the transition altitude. Is it on here? Where have they written the transition altitude? I'm not seeing it. Oh, there it is, 6,000 feet. So we're coming down. Yeah, we're not coming down steeply enough. And we're overspeeding slightly, so I've thrown the spoilers out. This may be a struggle to follow this plan, you know. I mean, it still says above 3,000, so it's not a disaster, but we're higher than we would like to be. So let's go and get the landing lights on as well, because we're below 10,000 feet now. Okay, so it seems to be following the plan absolutely perfectly so far. Obviously I've gone a little bit astray with the speed, but it's not the end of the world. So we'll wind it back to 200 knots. Make the plane level out to lose that speed. So you can see the speed is now dropping off. So it should take a gentle right turn anytime soon. And there it goes. So let's see if this will let us do landing mode, and it has. We are below the glide slope, so it should capture it and start descending. Be interesting to see if it does. Yes, there goes the vertical speed. So we came in from beneath the glide slope, that was the important thing. So we'll wind off the speed now to 180 knots and we'll start bringing the flaps out. Let's go and help it a bit with some spoilers to lose that speed. So gear down. Should watch it happen. It's very cool, isn't it? So this is where we go and set the decision height, I guess, to whatever height you want to be above the ground when you make your decision. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. We're just watching to see how closely this follows the plan. And we will have a point where we take over. So we'll switch this to ILS mode now on the display so we get the localizer and the glide slope. Okay, so should we take over from this point? I think we've pretty much proved that it was going to do it. So we press the autopilot button a second time. I can take the auto throttle off, so I have control now. That's interesting, the autopilot hasn't come off, has it? Now it has. No, it's cycling it twice, look, that's interesting. It's turning it back on. Okay, so that's a control configuration issue I've got. We're going to have to put up with the alarm. Sorry about that. So if I try to disengage the alarm, it turns it back on again because I've got a control configuration issue to sort out. But that's my problem. So we're just following the flight now. So we keep the speed up. We saw we got too slow the other day, so we'll sort that out. We're endangering going too low. Reversers are really powerful, aren't they? That's bizarre, look. So that will not shut up. If I try to press the button that disengages the autopilot on my controller, I think it's because I've got it on toggle, not disengage. So I'm going to have to go and change that in the control mappings. But that was instructive. Every time you fly this, you learn something new, don't you? Or you find a better way of doing something. So yeah, yet more lessons to learn, more notes to write down. But hopefully this means when I do the group flight tomorrow night, I'll be ready for these things. Okay. Go and park over here, shall we? This A310 is gorgeous, isn't it? Okay, parking brake on. Obviously, under normal circumstances during the taxi back, you'd go and turn on the APU and get it fired up. And then you don't have to worry about waiting here for a couple of minutes before you can cut the engines. So as soon as you're on the blocks and you call the tower, you can cut the engines immediately. But because I haven't got the APU ready, I've now got to wait, which is a bit of a pain. and we don't have external power available outside unless there's anything in the MCDU to do with that, but I'm not sure that there is. If we go and look in ACARS, we can do sim brief in here, but we can't do anything with the ground. And oh, it might be in here actually. Let's go and have a look. Can we request ground power unit? There we go. Presumably that won't connect it, it would just make it available. There we go. So we can switch across to ground power, and now we can kill the engines. He says famous last words. Well, the click spots are playing fun and games with us, aren't they? Let me just do that again. There we go. So the crossfeed's happening over to ground power completely automatically. To be honest, the APU, yeah, it's on, look. So but we have got ground power on, so we can disconnect the APU actually as well. Just turn the master switch off on it. It should be clever enough to do that. Oh, we didn't turn the landing lights off. Doing really well with the procedures today. But yeah, the main driver today obviously was to see, does it follow the plan? And it did for me. So I'm not sure what other people have seen. Maybe because I was monkeying with the plan en route, that stopped it getting into a situation where it suddenly deviated. But I haven't seen it do anything like that personally. But then this is my third flight ever with it. So what can I say? Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole power down sequence because that's very boring, and seeing people switch things off isn't much fun. But there we go. There's the Airbus A310, and we did a nice flight across Italy, or down the coast of Italy, and we used some of the guidance features. So I had no issues with it really, it was quite good. Okay, I'll see you again soon.